Hi, my name is Laura Shaw, and I'm a graduate student at the Citadel. I am also an 8-year in-service teacher with Charleston County School District. With this presentation, I would like to speak about the importance of diverse literature in the classroom. I'll be citing several theorists, including John Dewey's constructivist approach. He talks about the learner-centered approach as it emphasizes the importance of individuals actively constructing their knowledge and the understanding with the guidance of a teacher. With this approach, children should be encouraged to explore the world and think critically. What better way to explore the world than through a great book? With so many of our students still experiencing distance learning due to the COVID-19 epidemic, now is a better time than any to get into some of the great readings that we have. I'll also be speaking about the self-efficacy theory, which talks about perceived capabilities for learning or performing actions as designated levels. In other words, I'll be talking about belief in one's capability to achieve a goal. Having the belief that students have skills that they can rely on to help them navigate life and reach their individual goals. Growing up in a small town in Georgia, books were my way to get out of that small town. I would read day in and day out. I'd read about princesses. I would read Charlotte's Web. I would read any type of magazines. But as I read more and more books and I saw more and more things going on in the world, one of the things that I felt like was that the books weren't resonating with me. I wanted to see myself. I wanted to see a little brown girl winning, or I wanted to see her on TV or in a book or experiencing life. I wanted to see myself reflected in a book. Now, as a mother and as a grandmother and as a teacher, I try to ensure that my classroom and my home is literacy rich, and it's rich with all different types of books of all different types of culture and ethnicities. What I want is for these literacy books. I want to provide a mirror for my students in a world in which they can see characters and themes that reflect their identity and experiences. Experiences such as skin color, hairstyle, family, their culture, their abilities. Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop is a professor at the Ohio State University, and she's accredited to the framework that we use called mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. This is what Dr. Rudine wrote, and I really love this article. I love this paper that she did. It reads, "Books are sometimes windows, offering views of worlds that they may be real or they may be imagined. They may be familiar or they may be strange. These windows are also sliding glass doors, and readers only have to walk through in imagination to become part of whatever world has been created or recreated by the author. When lighting conditions are just right, however, a window can also be a mirror. Literature transforms human experience and reflects it back to us. In that reflection, we can see our own lives and experiences as part of the larger human experience. Reading then becomes a means of self-affirmation, and readers often seek their mirrors in books." Dr. Bishop published this article back in 1990, and the name of it is Mirrors, Windows, and Sliding Glass Doors. In short, what it does is speak about how our society has grown and how we've changed as a culture, but our books don't reflect that. Whether it's a book that an adult is reading or books that our children are reading, it's not reflecting that change. She describes that people of color see through windows. They're looking at a world that isn't like their own. Dr. Bishop also noted that when children cannot find themselves reflected in books that they read, or when the images they see are distorted, if they're negative, or if they're laughable, they learn a powerful lesson about how they are devalued in the society in which they are a part of. Children are affected by what they see around them, and it helps them to grow, whether it helps them to grow in a positive light or a negative one. We also talk about the discourse community that many children go through. It is the community, it is that circle of control or that circle of non-control that they're in. It's the communication or the type of language that they hear when they're at school, or what's going on in the home, or if they're at church or in their community or at the park. Again, that discourse community. Now, this also applies when I talk about my Caucasian students. For white children who also suffer not seeing the true nature of the world around them. And this is what is happening when they're not getting those diverse books also. All children can learn from the richness of culture. Kids do search for themselves in books. While our population continues to grow and change, children do deserve to find connections with characters they are looking for like themselves. Dr. Bishop uses this metaphor so that students can see themselves in texts and learning about others. Text selection is very important, and when children can see a connection between themselves and in a book, it builds on that connection. As a teacher in a Title I school, it's my responsibility, it's my commitment, and that I believe in my students and their capability to learn and not just look through a deficit lens. I want to be the teacher that encourages my students to see themselves as writers, authors, teachers, professors. It's so important that our children see themselves in all aspects of our classroom and feel valued and respected. They also need an understanding of others, so as they grow up, they can take their place as a valued citizen and work with all different kinds of people in the world. Albert Bandura said, "If you think you can, you probably can. If you think you can't, well, that self-limiting and self-fulfilling belief might well stop you from doing something you're perfectly capable of doing." Bandura also provides us with a framework that helps us to start thinking about how we can help our students and get more self-efficacy. Number one, provide an opportunity to experience this success, whether you're in the classroom, whether you are creating a positive mindset, letting our children know that you can be successful. Number two, he talks about how we build resilience, a challenging curriculum that help them use critical thinking. Hopefully gone are the true and false questions, or the true and false way that we assess our kids, and the yes or no. We want to build that resilience. We want to help build on their critical thinking, so they're thinking about what's going on in the world along with what's going on with themselves. And lastly, verbal persuasion. As a teacher, I want to strengthen the belief in my students that they have what it takes to be successful in the classroom, not just in the classroom, but in society. As a third grade teacher, I want the books that my children read to show them the world, but not just a white world or a black world, but a world with endless possibilities. I want books in my classroom to show them the world and a reflection of themselves. Kids need books to be windows, like we spoke about earlier. Windows to see the things and people from other points of view. They need books to be mirrors, a mirror to see themselves with the self-efficacy attitude that they can do it, they can be successful, and they can make it work. They need those books that are sliding glass doors so they can cross into their places as they grow up to be young adults and they can take their places in the world. This sets a path for self-worth and empathy that all of our children need to read about in the different books and the different varieties that we have in our classroom. It doesn't matter if you're African American, white, Asian, Hispanic, or even disabled. We all need to see ourselves in books, because if we don't see ourselves in books, we may not feel that importance, or we may not feel a connection to society. It is important to read about the lives and experiences of others, but our children also need to read about reflective people, just like themselves, so they can have a full understanding about the world around them. Again, as we talk about having a literacy-rich classroom, and as we talk about having that diverse variety of books for our children to read, let's keep in mind that it's not about one color or one ethnicity or one culture. It's about children experiencing all different kinds. It's about them looking through those windows and looking at the mirrors and going through the glass doors to experience life as a child and taking their place as an adult as they get ready to enter the world. Thank you.